So shall it be. See how the wolf succeeds! None can do this better than a warrior of the earth. The bite of death! The wolf is on the hunt. By claw and fire, the foe will return asunder! Strike is I hunger for battle.
You will pay dearly for your actions.
I challenge you, Danget. So it shall be. See how the wolf succeeds. Wolf, carve runes out of your bones. The fame-hungry come. I have become the All-Father God in disgrace. Carve runes out of your bones. Corpse play.
You will pay dearly for
So
your
it
actions.
shall be. See how the wolf succeeds. Die in disgrace. My hand is thunder. My strike is ruin. You will carve runes out of your bones. So
I'll return this favor tenfold.
now you become the All-Father's worthy. I don't like that.
Hello everyone, Revan619 here. How the devil are you? So this is going to be the last of my videos probably until the 1.3 update. I am planning to do a live stream at the end of November with a friend, which is going to be that Noob Hires the Pro thing. So it might be a little bit quiet on the channel till then, but we're going to finish up with the last companions. I've already covered Marihai quite extensively, and the interest in him is so low, I'm not going to do a full breakdown. The sheet's there, and I've showed many gameplay videos of how to make that really effective Death Warrior build. But we're going to actually cover my favourite companion on paper, but one of the weaker ones in actual gameplay, just because of what gear he has access to. Ulfar is a space marine and a space wolf at that, so the Emperor's chosen assassins. Definitely very enjoyable to use. I like his playstyle. His only issue is he's limited by gear, and there are a few areas in the game where sometimes he gets stuck and can't move because of the size of him and stairs. So we're going to go over some of the gear here, and we'll talk about some of the options. But the way I build him is as a mixed attacker that uses iron eye grenades to lower enemies' armor, so then he can use heavy weapons to great effect. He can also use bolt pistols and melee to generate AP, depending on what you use to set up. When I have him early on, one of the things that I like to use the most is the Soldier's Aquilia pendant. So whenever the wearer hits a ranged weapon within melee range, the target gains 1 stack of Perplexed. Perplexed creates subsequent turn penalties, ballistic, weapon skill, intelligence, and perception test for its level of effect. This can cripple a lot of bosses. Normally, I'll get right in their face, and I'll either use close quarters training, so he can use heavy weapons close for bursts, or I will just use the bolt pistol, so that can build up a lot of stacks. Obviously, in Act 5, you get Fury Incarnate, which gives you 50% critical hit chance and 50% critical damage. You take more damage yourself, but he's obviously so tanky it doesn't really matter. One of the items I use early on that I eventually set up is the bayonet chain knife, which is basically, if you shoot within one cell of a target, you get 25% critical damage. Close quarters training, you can just literally put your gun in their face and just mow them down. I also like to use the Echo of Victory early on, because 20% more damage for your bolt pistol and 15% more damage for your calibrated heavy stubber, which has 1 AP attack shots, so it's actually pretty useful. Even though the damage is fairly low, all your gear does up it quite a bit. One other thing that you can do is if you use Crusader's plate helmet and then you use Reckless Approach, you will still crit, so you can get all the benefits to your heavy weapons. So you can get 50% here, you do perplex damage here, which eventually becomes another 50% there, you get 30% there, which can be 15 or 20% early on, and then eventually you get the Hellbrute Horn trophy, so you basically increase your critical damage by 2+ for your reduced armor. Using Dependable, you can actually stack your armor based on stats, so the later you use this, the more damage you're going to do. Eventually I swapped to the Astartes Chainsword, just because it has high damage. Early on, I like to use his Astartes Combat Knife because kills with it generate AP. So when you use this for something like Slicing Symbol, if you have Bounty Hunters looping your turns, you essentially have unlimited AP with 0 AP kicks. You keep going in using kick to deal the additional damage, and then you kill them with the knife to generate AP. You essentially have infinite AP. One of the useful combos that you can do with him is you can use Metabolic Overcharge, so an ally gives him a turn, immediately entrench, so you keep all that AP and MP, and then on his next turn you use Run and Gun, and you just generate a hell of a lot of AP and MP, and you can just absolutely go ham and start shredding things. It's very important that you get Iron A grenades on him so you can strip armor. I take Grenadier so we can use that the most. Tears of Repentance is useful to help debuff and use other things. His power armor doesn't add much to his playstyle, but it does make him very strong. You get a lot of recoil reduction, so it doesn't matter that your high shot rate. Shroud of Dauntless is also very good for giving you extra AP and MP whenever you use your heroic actions. So he is very strong, very powerful, very high deflection, very high armor, really good dodge. So when you buff it up, he just becomes an absolute frontline armor and dodge tank. One of the weapons you get later is Burden of Servitude. It's currently bugged, so it counts as a rifle, not a pistol, so it's not very useful at the moment because you can't really use it. And also close quarters training is currently bugged. It gives you a permanent -10, but you can shoot near enemies. The devs need to fix that. But yeah, so this is sort of the gearing that we have for endgame Ulfar. You get him at level 20, so you can't much change his early game. So his soldier stuff coming in isn't too bad. He obviously gets Unpredictable, Rapid Reload, Combat Master, Alacrity. He picks up Tenderize, which is not a useful talent for him. Tenderize got nerfed, so area attacks will increase your damage on your next attack that hits them. So you could use a Flamer or Plasma Pistol to then go into your burst weapon. But because he doesn't have access to all the burst gear, which you normally put on Argenta anyway, it's not as useful for him, because the main issue that Ulfar has when it comes to gearing is, first of all, he can't use the Gunslinger's Helmet, which increases your range damage based on your rate of fire. He can't use the Compensating Gloves, which increases your rate of fire, and he can't use either of the Elite Backpacks, which again increases your rate of fire. So I tend to give the improved Heavy Bolter to Argenta. In the final act of the game, depending on your choices, you can get a second improved Heavy Bolter, so then you can swap that over to him. It will do slightly less than Argenta, because obviously she can build up higher rate of fire, but it's still very, very good for him, and his build is already ready to drag that over. So if you really don't want to use it, the reason that this is so good is it has 1 AP burst fires, so it's quite high rate fire, degraded defense with all the extra attacks and all the boosts again will do quite a bit of it. But if you don't like that at all, you can just go straight with a Heavy Bolter. Each kill will increase your rate of fire, so it will still do a lot, and it just looks really nice in his hands. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, so back to the archetype stuff. He also gets Unpredictable, which for him it doesn't do anything much. So the soldier gets 9% critical hit chance. This bonus double against enemies from which soldier is protected by cover at the moment of attack. Because of his abilities, he does count as full cover, but increasing crit hit chance when you have 100% hit chance anyway, and you're always critical, doesn't do much for you. It's so yeah, so it's not really adding much. Obviously, he takes It Will Not Die, and Dual Weapon Combat, but I feel like It Will Not Die could be easily replaced with something better. Same with Dual Weapon Combat, because by the time you get him, you're using a lot of heroics. So you've got 3 wasted talents on him, really, but it could be worse. Possibly 4 that you could argue are wasted talents in the early game. However, going into his Arc Militum, he obviously takes Kick and Martial Art, which is absolutely fine because we want to use that anyway. I obviously go into Always Ready next. I pick up Heavy Weapons Proficiency and Flash Fire, as well as Broad Expertise. Broad Expertise is quite useful for bringing up some of his basic stuff. One of the other things that is very useful to get on him is Overpower. So this one you can't really find online because it was added, so it's not on like Fetch Life or anything. But when firing heavy weapons, critical hit chance increased by 9% and critical damage increased by 27%. So 3 times ballistic score bonus. So the more ballistic score you have, the more you're actually going to do here. So because he'll build it up with stacks of versatility, yeah, this is very, very, very useful. And obviously, Broad Expertise will increase his weapon skill and his ballistic skill as he goes into the start of combat. That's a one-time boost, but it's useful to get the ball rolling before you start adding on stacks of versatility. We've taken critical versatility, which is, like I said, we increase critical damage based on the number of stacks that we have. Grenadier, very useful because we're going to need that for buffs. Reckless Rush, best talent in the game, allows us to keep moving after we attack, especially when combined with All Out. Yeah, so we obviously get Heavy Gunner, which will reduce heavy weapon attacks by 1 action point, minimum 1. If that could get us 0 ones, then you've essentially got the Daredevil pistol. For ages, this was bugged, but they fixed it now, so it is quite useful. We also have breaking points. Heavy weapons deal 1 additional damage and 10% damage and ignore 2 deflection. We get Solid Projectile Weapon Expert, which gives us another 2. If you're focused on bolt weapons, you're going to want to get Bolt Weapon Expert for that extra bit of penetration there. Dependable, very good for building up his armor, makes him very tanky. It will, like I said, with Hellbrute Brute Horn Trophy, it also does a lot to it there, but you don't really get that till later. Yes, I know you're level 50 by the time you're going in against the Act 4 bosses, but once you get those items for Act 4, Act 5's empty. It's less than 30 minutes from the end of Act 4 to the end of the game, so you don't really get to use it on too much. I make sure to pick up Contempt for the weak because you're obviously going to be knocking a lot of things down, so that extra 20% damage is very good. It's also very useful that you get Exploit Weakness on him. This is because you're reducing armor anyway for your main strategy, so again, that is extra damage. Swift Slaughter you want, so you can use Revenant Slaughter quicker. It's very, very good. Deadly Aim is also very important for this build because based on dodge reduction we're increasing our damage. Degraded Defense, another useful one because we're going to have way more attacks than our allies because our burst fires only cost 1 AP. We're actually going to get much more use out of Degraded Defense, so Ulfar's damage will eventually stack up a lot quicker than other characters. So because he is directly competing with Argenta, he is a mixed attacker, so he does work a little bit differently from Argenta. Now, at the start of the round, she'll do way more burst damage, but Ulfar can quickly catch up. Depending on whether or not you give him or not improved heavy bolter, she's always going to have slightly more rate of fire, but the fact that he can move in, do more damage with those kicks, and he can follow up with melees whilst building stacks versatility, he can generate AP, so he can go for longer than she can. He's just got way more endurance. You can obviously pick up devastating attacks, so your impact damage can knock targets prone. Quite hilarious to do, because a full burst fire on that, you'll just slide them across the floor. And we also get shot through eventually, so we got more over penetration. So the whole point of this build is you go in, you get as close as possible, you blow things up, you smash things, and then you keep going. Honestly, the biggest thing holding back Ulfar is actually his gear that he has access to. I would like to see in some future updates him get some more gear so we can do it, but very good companion, very enjoyable to use. I showed off a little bit at the start of how I can use him. Yeah, and he's one of those guys, he can solo the Satan boss, though, so very, very good. Yeah, but that's it. If you've got any different ways you like to play Ulfar, do let me know below. But that's it. That's all the companions done. The build spreadsheet's been updated. We've got many various Rogue Trader builds. We've got different paths, different companions. So that should keep you happy in playing. I've even got an alternative Stormbolter build for Ulfar if you don't want to use the heavy weapons because you like to see the higher damage numbers per bullet. That's also on the spreadsheet. Just scroll left and right. We've also updated the spreadsheet to have a lot more useful information, so it's easier to get new players in. So if you've got a friend struggling to learn the game, do look at that. It has a glossary, it has space combat path, it has all the builds, it has the loot tables, so it will help you playing unfair. But that's all we got time for. Thanks for stopping by. Revan out, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you all in the 1.3 update. Bye for now.
Me? If you insist, Lord Captain. I'm not accustomed to being ordered around. Isn't this a job for the serfs? If I may, I am a navigator, not a servitor.
But of course, we'll do.
Throw take.
Was it you? Or anything else? Stop it! On it. But of course, we'll do.
You bite like a bomb.
Was that you? Or
Emperor, give me strength. Me? If you insist, Lord Captain. I'm not accustomed to being ordered around. I'll show you why navigators are feared.
See how the wolf succeeds? So shall it be. None can do this better than a warrior of the Allfather. Fenris shoulder! Is thunder! My strike is ruin! Wolves reign! Cubs play! So... I say fight of death! None can do this better than a warrior of the Allfather. Our foes reek of cowardice. So my hand is thunder. My strike is ruin. Come. I see bite of death. Wolves reign! I have become the Allfather's instrument! The wolf is on the hunt. None can do this better than a warrior of the Allfather! Wolves reign. Cubs play. See. My strike is ruin. So. I hunger for battle. None can do this better than a warrior of the Allfather! Thunder! My strike is ruin! See how the wolf succeeds! Come! My hand is thunder! My strike shall feel the icy bite of death! My hand is thunder! My strike is ruin!
Not a problem for me. Nothing I can't do. Suits my purposes.